Okay. You are live.
All right, good afternoon. Welcome to the Monday, March 20th. What?
Now you're not alive.
Welcome to the Monday, March 24th, 2025 Board of Supervisors work session. This meeting is now called to order. Ms. Whitten, will you conduct roll?
Supervisor Lewis.
Present.
Supervisor Day.
Here.
Supervisor McDaniel.
Here.
Supervisor Lyons.
Here.
Chair Ayers.
Here. Review of the VDOT 6-year plan. Mr. Suter.
Okay. So as you're aware, VDOT 6-year highway improvement plan is reviewed, advertised for public hearing and approved by the board each year by June 30. Typically, the plan is reviewed and amended as requested by the board and advertised for a future public meeting. The public hearing is conducted jointly by the board and VDOT to satisfy VDOT and county requirements. And tonight we're recommending that the public hearing be scheduled for the board's May 12th regular meeting. The draft plan is included in your package, and I just pulled it up on the screen. As noted in last year's presentation and adoption process, I've maintained a listing of requests received either directly from residents or via request forwarded to me from the board from time to time. I've kept Ms. Hammond up to date on the request, and the documents provided by Ms. Hammond reflect her recommendations based on available funding tonight. And as always, I'll continue to update that request list through the year. And so tonight, Residence Administrator Susan Hammond is with us as always. It's a work session process. No action is requested here. But after you review and have any comment that you might have, there is opportunity on the regular agenda at 5:30 to set that public hearing should you wish. And then gives the board a good 5 weeks of review time. So with that, I would turn it over to Ms. Hammond.
Ready? Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, you are one packet shy tonight because our program wouldn't print the full 6-year distribution on each individual project. So I'm told that I will have that, but we can still go over everything with the packet that you all have. To start on the front page, you have 2 funding sources that your secondary construction program is funded with. One of them are telefees, and those are fees that are collected from users of any telecommunication bills that come in. There's a small fee that is attached to that. That's what you see in that first line. And it's relatively flat throughout that 6-year period for a total of $282,276. The next funding category is the district grant unpaved. And again, fairly stable throughout. Right now it's programmed at a little over 407,000 for the first 4 years, and then it drops down in the last 2. Gives you a total in your secondary program of 2.68 million.
Susan?
Yes.
The only copy I have digitally is the copy you're looking at up here on the screen. I'm not sure if that's the one you're on.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I have the cover. The cover
Oh,
sheet
you got the cover.
is
Never
what
mind.
I was starting with. I hadn't
Oh,
gotten that.
sorry.
We have the cover sheet. Okay. No worries. Okay.
There we go.
There you go.
All
right. So the first couple of projects that are in there, we have already completed. So Snakefoot Lane has been completed. Eastfield Road has been completed. Union Run has been completed, and Jacob's Ladder and Millerbrook Memorial Highway, those have all been completed. Now, there were balances left on those projects, and they have been moved down to accelerate the dates for the next projects that were in line for priority. The last project on that second page is Little Dry Hollow. That one is actually under construction now. And it was already fully funded. Hollow Rock Road is under construction now and was fully funded. They have to be fully funded before we can take them to construction. Generally, our rule of thumb is to go in and replace all of the pipes the fiscal year that the funds are available, let them set over the winter, and then in the spring, come back, clean everything up, make sure all the ditches and the brush and everything is cut back, and then we'll shoot the surface so that hopefully, if all goes well, we don't have to touch it for probably 4 or 5 years. Green Hill Road is also under construction now, as well as Darnock Way. That one is under construction. So we were able to, the next project is Sunnybrook Road, and the construction date for that one was set at 2028, and we've been able to accelerate that pretty well. So some of these dates haven't kicked over because there's an upload process that has to go through. So hopefully by the time we get to public hearing, the dates that are in there, and I'll send Mr. Suter a revised copy that has the corrected dates in there. But we have 3 different financial systems that feed off of one, and it takes a while for everything to upload into each one. So it's a nice clean copy. So Sunnybrook Road, which is Route 715, planning to do it as a rural rustic project, goes from the intersection of Route 11 to the intersection of Route 712 for a distance of 1.7 miles. The next project is Fredericksburg Road. And as Mr. Suter said, these projects, the next couple that I have to go over are ones that have been in the plan. We're just moving them up in the process to where they should be. I think on some of them, we haven't moved up at least 2 years. So we made pretty good progress making sure that those funds will be used to accelerate those projects. Fredericksburg Road is Route 723. That's to go from the intersection of Route 621 to Farmhouse Road. I have the route number in there too. It's a distance of 2.7 miles. The next project is Round Hill Road, Route 698. Goes from the intersection of Route 608 to the intersection of Route 700 for a distance of 1.4 miles. The next project is Goose Creek Road, Route 717. Goes from the intersection of Route 252 to 1.25 miles east of that intersection for a distance of 1.3 miles. The next project is Chestnut Grove Trail, Route 622, from the intersection of Route 626 to the intersection of 623 for a distance of 1.4 miles. The next one is Eastfield Road, Route 731. Goes from the intersection of Route 724 to 1.4 miles south of that intersection for a distance of 1.1 miles. And Seville Lane, Route 768, from the intersection of Route 611 to the end of state maintenance for a distance of 0.9 miles. And the next 2 that we have are new. Those are ones that were added in that came off of the priority list that we've been following for the last couple of years. There are several projects that were asked for, but they don't necessarily meet the traffic volume threshold that is needed. It has to be at least 50 vehicles per day, and we had several of them that were in the neighborhood of like 20 or 25 or 30 or 40. So as we reevaluate these each year, we usually do it around the first part of March. We'll go back and look to see if there's anything that's changed in the published counts, if the numbers have, bumped up since the last count was done. Take that into consideration, but that's kind of the first eligibility criteria that needs to happen. So we added Stillhouse Drive, Route 638, from the intersection of Route 641 to 0.28 miles south of the intersection of 631. It's a distance of 2.6 miles. And then added Reed Road, Route 622, from the intersection of Route 716 to 1 mile east of the intersection of 39 for 1.7 miles. And those were both on the list that we've been talking about. The next page, there are 4 countywide charges. Those are, we like to keep a little bit of a balance in there just in case there's something that comes up that doesn't necessarily fit into an individual project. It might be something we need to evaluate. So if we have something that falls under countywide right-of-way engineering or in traffic services, engineering and surveying, or fertilization and seeding, we can pull from those if we have, something unique that we like to keep a little bit of money in those. So that's what I have for your draft plan right now. If you all have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer what I can.
Susan, there was one that Supervisor Lyons had sent me one on that I've not followed up with. I talked to you about it, but you covered that earlier. Had a construction. Yeah, on Hollow Rock Road, we had a citizen.
Oh, with the date.
Yeah, with the
Yes.
date, and you pretty
Yes.
well covered that, but I just want to make sure that we answer that question. And she was wondering, this inquiry came in from a resident on Hollow Rock Road, wanting to know when it was going to be done. And the answer was, you did the culvert work last fall,
Yes.
last summer and fall, let it sit a winter, and then I'm assuming now that it will be completed in this upcoming season.
Yes.
Okay.
And one thing obviously we have to wait for is weather so that we can get oil. Because we want to make sure that we get as good a surface on there as possible. So we want to make sure that the temperature's up so we can do that. And you have to be able to buy it. So usually in April's usually the time frame when we start doing that.
So I think I can answer that question and follow up on that. I've already sent on this. There you go. Thank you.
Susan, I think I'd sent you one with Hops Hill, but is that a traffic count issue?
I believe it was. That one's not on this list. I think it is. For some reason, I was thinking when I pulled that one, it was somewhere between 30 and 40. I'll double check on that one again, just to make sure, and we'll add that to this list so we make sure that we keep track of it every year.
When you mentioned 50 cars, I figured it probably was a traffic count issue.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was. I apologize for not having added that. I have a series of Post-it notes on the inside of my folder that works as my list as well.
Is there anything else, gentlemen?
Let me ask you about issues outside of the 6-year plan.
You certainly can.
How's the stoplight at the intersection of the Greenhouse Road and Chick-fil-A and all that? How's that working out?
We had a meeting with the Chick-fil-A folks last Friday, I think, and had our one of our signal techs on the phone with us so that he could hear specifically from them what their concerns were. One of the things that that issue is not going to be addressed just with signal timing. There are some capacity issues that are there that in order to make that function properly, we need some additional turn lanes in there. And then when we have the right signal timing in there, it will function a lot better. But the issue of not having the particularly two right turn lanes in there makes a big difference on how that intersection flows. And the other thing too is that because of the school traffic, there's a portion of that as well as the impact to traffic that's on the interstate that's always going to take some priority over the frontage road. So we're hoping that we can possibly have a good project that comes out of that intersection that will improve that. But the traffic study that was done at that intersection really shows that we need some extra lanes in there in order to, and particularly separating out the left and right. Well, the left through movement and the right movement as you're coming out. That would really help get more than 3 vehicles through there at the signal. I've watched it several times. Yeah, but we really need to have some capacity fixed before it actually really will work at its optimum.
Thank you. Thank you for looking into it.
Absolutely. We've actually adjusted some of the timings on there a couple of times already. And one of the ones that was done this past week is they are looking at when the school traffic and the rest of the traffic on 11 is at an off peak. So after, I guess from probably about 7:15 to about maybe 8:15 is really the high peak in the morning. But we were looking at making some adjustments in the timing so that outside of those areas and outside of your peak volume in the evening, that we could give a little bit more time, a few more seconds time. I think it was like, it doesn't sound like a whole lot, but I think they were going to add like 4 seconds onto there, but you can still get, several more cars through that intersection with that during that off-peak time. So we'll keep tweaking it until we're able to get something constructed out there.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Our regular meeting will start at 5:30. If there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn this work session? Second. One.
And although do we have-
Did you have more questions?
No, I just wasn't sure we had to have a motion for work session, but I'll second it. I agree with it.
About the same thing.
What I'm not.
Mr. McDaniel, Mr. Lewis,
Aye.
Mr. Lyons,
Yes.
Mr. Day,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Okay, you are live.
Welcome to the Monday, March 24th, 2025 Board of Supervisors meeting. This meeting is now called to order. Ms. Whitten, will you now conduct a roll call for the board?
Supervisor Lewis.
Present.
Supervisor Day.
Here.
Supervisor McDaniel.
Here.
Supervisor Lyons.
Here.
Chair Ayers.
Here. We will now offer an invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Those attending are not required to participate, but if you'd like to join us, please stand.
Lord, as we meet this spring day, I think of green grass, flowers, and spring showers. I thank you for the much needed rain that we've received today and ask for more in the days ahead. Pray for the safety of the firefighters who are working to extinguish the wildfires and our public safety officials. And now I ask that you be with this board, help us to make the right decisions this afternoon and in days to come. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will hold citizens' comments near the beginning of the meeting. We will do our best to take citizen comment remotely. There are two options for citizens to offer comment. To join by telephone, you may dial into one of the numbers listed on the county website. Webinar ID and password are there for your convenience. Citizens wishing to simply view the meeting live or after the fact can do so on the Rockbridge County Board of Supervisors YouTube channel, also available on the county website. If you wish to make a citizen comment as a Zoom meeting participant, you will use the raise your hand feature. You can press the raise hand button on the bottom of your Zoom window or press *9 if you're calling in by telephone. Are there any changes to the agenda?
I have none, ma'am.
We will now welcome citizens' comments. When your name is called, please address the board at the podium, stating your first and last name and magisterial district. Please limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. There's a timer on the table for your convenience. Is there anyone signed up to speak?
No, ma'am.
All right. Is there anyone online?
No one with a hand raised.
Okay. And is there anyone that would like to speak now? You can also speak at the hearing, but if you'd like citizens' comments. Okay, not. Approval of the March 10th, 2025 minutes. Are there any comments on the draft minutes? Not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
And I vote yes. School appropriation resolution, Mr. Harrison.
Yes. The first resolution for the school, or one resolution, is $38,623, and that's for Fund 50. And that includes Title I grants for salaries, purchase services, and materials. The second one is for Fund 70. That's $560,000, and that's for the 4 buses. Needs to be appropriated for the school since it comes out of the county's general fund and is in our budget. And that's the money we separated separately.
All right. Questions, comments?
Those buses have been received.
They're on order. 3 of them are on order. They do have a request that they want to run by the finance committee and the full board, and Mr. Spencer will be, once he gets that request in writing, he'll be discussing that with all of you. And it's for capital. It's for transportation.
Just to clarify, I received a call from Dr. Thompson today, and they have a need that they have a potential need for some money that they would use. I think there's after the 3 buses, I think there was $160,000 left, and they wanted to look at the potential to get a handicapped van or small bus. I can't remember what it was. Instead. So I haven't received that request yet. It just happened this morning. So,
But the other 3 are here, not just ordered.
Not here yet.
No, I think they're on, just on order.
Okay,
So
and
that
if
they
they
can-
don't come in before the end of the fiscal year,
Well, we would roll the money and then pay
right,
for it. Yeah.
I'm just saying, do we usually transfer the funds before they actually receive the product?
Well, it would actually, well, this just authorizes them to make those purchases because they can't do it without the appropriation on
Okay.
their side. But we can follow up to make sure, because I know they talked, it's been over a month ago about ordering the buses, making sure the funds were there before they did that. I can't say exactly when, but it was some time ago. But we can double check. But yes, but technically they can't make the actual payment until it's appropriated. But I will follow up to make sure it's. But they are on. I know 3 of them are over.
And we'll follow up when I get that information.
Yeah, my point is that I'd like to see them start getting buses before the school year starts, rather than getting new buses as the school year ends and have them brand new buses sitting idle for 3 months, for 2 months.
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve resolution.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes,
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
And I vote yes. County financial report and appropriation resolution. Mr. Harrison?
Yes, before you is an appropriation, and also for the payment of bills. The total amount of bills this period is $221,682.12. The additional appropriations include, there's $4,682 for fleet services, and that's an insurance reimbursement. And then there's $59,782 for the sheriff's office facility study. As you recall, the Rockbridge Regional Jail did a facility needs study. What was left out of that was the sheriff's office. So this would be an addendum to that contract. So strictly, or not just strictly speaking, this will money be provided to the Regional Jail Commission so that they, since they already have a contract, it'll just be an amendment to that contract. This was just both. This was discussed with the Finance Committee, and the recommendation was to proceed with that now. Oh, yes. And separate from the resolution, just as a reminder, we have a special meeting just on the FY26 budget scheduled for this coming up Monday at 5:30 p.m. The Finance Committee has it's met multiple times. They've done a great job. They've gotten the budget gap down to about $746,000. With some progress has been made on the revenue side. We've refined the sales tax estimates. Additionally, Sheriff McFadden has been able to get DCGS to approve level funding for the SRO grants. As you recall, those grants were supposed to step down by 25% each year until it zeroes out, but he is able to get level funding. So that helped the revenue as well. And on the expense side, Chief Ramsey has made a lot of progress on making strategic cuts to the fire and rescue budget. We also asked departments if they can cut wherever they can. And so Brandy Flint, Steve Kingery, and Wayne Nicely provided some optional cuts. And as you are aware from our joint meeting with the school board, that's been very cooperative relationship. So that proposed funding that was in your last draft of the budget, seems like everyone's comfortable with that number, which goes a long ways with help reach a balanced budget, but we will be, of course, needing some feedback at Monday's meeting on possible revenue and expense side of things. Have that discussion on Monday. That's your last regularly scheduled meeting before the next meeting, which is to schedule the public hearing. Not that you can't have any more special meetings, but just hope we can finalize that on Monday.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Gentlemen? If there are no questions or comments, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Consideration to schedule public hearing on VDOT 6-year plan. Mr. Suter.
Yes, and the work session just concluded earlier. The board received an initial presentation for the draft 2024 VDOT 6-year plan from Residency Administrator Susan Hammond. And we added this item as noted in the work session to the agenda to give the board an opportunity to set public hearing for this matter, which is requested to be May the 12th. I'm happy to bring the share the file up again if anybody wanted to look at it. I don't.
No? Need that? All right.
I move we set the public hearing for May 12th.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Is there a second?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Consider.
Thank you.
Thank you. Consideration to set public hearings for personal property tax and real estate tax exemption request by the Virginia Institute of Autism. Mr. Dryden.
The board had earlier scheduled a public hearing that was scheduled for today on the Virginia Institute of Autism application for a personal property tax tax exemption. The Virginia Institute of Autism subsequently applied for a application for a real estate tax exemption also, and requested that we put those together into combine them into one hearing. So we've now bring before the board today a request to set a public hearing for the first meeting and for the second meeting in April, so April 28th. And so if that's acceptable, the board move forward there. We already provided the information on the personal property tax application. For the real estate tax application, just for your information, the purchase price of the real estate was $1 million.
I'm sorry, what was that? number?
The purchase price for the real estate is $1 million.
Does anyone have anything for Mr. Dryden? Any questions?
Just to clarify, it will actually be two public hearings. So if we could have a motion to set public hearing for the personal property tax application and a motion to set the hearing for the real estate property,
You want
property
separate
tax.
motion?
Yeah, they need to be two separate hearings because it's two
Both
separate
on April
ordinances.
28th.
Both on April 28th, yes.
All right. Gentlemen,
I move that we set both public hearings. Would that work? Or
You could, I guess, one motion setting two public hearings. If you're making one motion to set two public hearings, it's
what-
fine.
is there a second? Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis? Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you, Mr. Dryden. Consideration of contract amendment for CAP Gov services.
Yes, in the fall of 2017, after a procurement process, the board entered into an agreement with CapGov Solutions, a consulting firm based in Washington, D.C. I did attach that original agreement in your package. Since that time, the owner and primary consultant, Nick Crockett, has advocated at the county level, or for the county at the state or at the federal level, seeking fund sources for county projects and otherwise looking out for us in D.C. To date, CapGov has guided the county into two federal awards totaling $5.5 million, $3 million for MSA water intake system replacements, and 2.5 million for the new Health and Human Services building or project that would include the Department of Social Services building. And that project was recently approved by the cities and the county. In late 2024, Mr. Crockett approached the county with a request to increase the contract amount to account for inflated costs and overhead he's experienced since supporting the county since 2017. It has remained very, very low when you look at the going rate in DC. The original contract was for $18,000 annually, and his request is a seemingly a significant increase, but it's still very low for what he has provided and what he's brought to the county at 48,000. I have reviewed the initial requests with both the Economic Development Committee and the Finance Committee, who have expressed support for the new contract document, and Mr. Dryden has worked with Mr. Crockett to finalize the attached contract amendment. And since it's more than 25% of the original contract total valuation, this needs to go to the board for consideration.
If I may add one thing, we did also update the indemnification language. We discussed about them. So the language in the contract now is more favorable for the county. So that was also improved.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, I move that we approve the contract with Capital Government Solutions LLC.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Mr. Day,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Lyons.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you. Planning Commission, Adam Sandridge, term expires March 23, 2025. Mr. Sandridge has offered to be reappointed to the Planning Commission.
This being in my district, I move that we approve Adam Sandridge for another term.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Do I have a second? And Mr. Day,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Lyons.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I may add, I apologize if just one thing with my report. I failed to mention, so as the board is aware, it's in the appropriation resolution itself. I was just, during my report, focused on the general fund. There's also an appropriation request that was approved for the, and as recommended by the Finance Committee, and that's to do the facilities, space needs analysis of this building. And it was recommended, and that's why I was in the resolution, by the Finance Committee to move that up to this year, FY25, because that impacts future year budgets, not for necessarily for FY26, but definitely coming up in FY27 beyond that. We need to have those answers prior to
Sure.
working on the budget. And I should have mentioned that during my report itself instead of.
Do you need any motion?
No.
Or have we taken care of everything? you need?
Yes, you have. I just thought just being
Oh, I
forthright.
appreciate that. We have actually 10 minutes before our public hearing. So that's fine. We'll take a break until that time and it'll begin at 6.
For anyone viewing online now or after, we're just gonna turn the video off and or mute it anyway. Okay, audio is back.
Thank you. Uh, We will now move on with our public hearing. Mr. Sladen.
Yes, ma'am. Let me get my slideshow up here. Here. All right, it's acting a little funny. Tonight we have a public hearing on the proposed Irish Creek Ag Forest Overlay District. A little bit of background on ag forest districts, both in Virginia and in Rockbridge. In Virginia, the 1977, the Agricultural and Forestal District Act was passed. And these are somewhat dated numbers. I was having a hard time going more recent than 2021, but essentially there's approximately 740,000 acres in 30 different counties that are in agricultural and forest overlay districts. In Rockbridge, the first ag forest district was created in 1999. There are currently no active ag forest districts in the county. And so if approved, this will be the one and only ag forest districts we have in Rockbridge County. A little bit of details on the ag forest district overlay themselves. Districts are a rural conservation overlay reserved for the production of agricultural products, timber, and maintenance of open space land. Of course, unique to Irish Creek, the vast majority of it is timber property. Ag forest districts are a voluntary agreement between the landowner and the locality not to convert their land into more intensive uses such as subdivision or non-agricultural or forestal uses. In return, the county agrees not to take actions or make infrastructure investments that will place increased pressure on landowners convert their land in the district to more intensive land uses in the term of the district. So a little bit about how the agricultural forestal overlays are comprised. Districts can be created for a period of 4 to 10 years, and that's reflected in the ordinance. This current Irish Creek Ag Forest District is proposed for a 4-year term. You need a core of at least 200 acres, and that could be one landowner or multiple landowners, but that core has to be 200 acres of contiguous property. Again, not owned by the same landowner, but in a core contiguous property. Once that core is established, any landowner within 1 mile of the edge of the core can join the Ag Forest District within that 1 mile. And this one was a little bit easier mapping wise, I'll say, than other ones we worked on, because to the south of this proposed district, you have national forest, and then to the north, you have a very large landowner that was not a participant. So the bounds of the north and south, east or west were a little bit easier to map in this particular one than other ones. Less moving parts, if you will. Again, these districts are totally voluntary, and qualifying landowners can join. To encourage these districts, there is no fee associated with the creation or the renewal of the district. Benefits the agricultural and forestal overlay districts. Land within the district and used for agricultural forest production automatically qualifies for agricultural forestal land use assessment, whether or not the ordinance establishing land use program has been established, as long as the requirements qualify for land use taxation are met. And looking throughout the state, there's some localities that have a very large portion or very large holdings ag forest districts. I didn't have the time, but I sort of assume in some of those cases they don't have the land use taxation program, such as Rockbridge County obviously has land use taxation. One thing, and this has never been publicly discussed or contemplated, I should say, by the current Board of Supervisors, if the Rockbridge County did away with the land use taxation program, the members of the district would automatically qualify for the term that they're in the ag forest district. Local governments in return may not enact local laws, ordinances within a district, which would unreasonably restrict or regulate farm structures or having farm and forestry practices. Local ordinances, comprehensive plans, land use planning decisions, administrative decisions, and procedures affecting the parcel of land, affecting parcels of land adjacent to any district shall take into account the existing of such district and the purposes of this chapter. When I say this chapter, it goes under the Code of Virginia, the Agricultural and Forestal Overlay District Act. The local, state, and federal agencies must take into consideration the existing of the district when developing and implementing policy. This policy must promote agricultural and forestry within the district. Special taxes for services cannot be levied on most property within the district. So some benefits of the membership itself. Districts provide a protection for members of the period of the term can be renewed after the initial term expires. Participation in the district offers some protection from eminent domain, acquisition, or land easements for power lines, roadways, and other infrastructure within the district are subject to a review by the board to determine whether or not it will adversely affect the district. Districts prohibit the expenditure of public funds for non-farm related purposes within the district, except for when a public service corporation or public agency files a notice of intent with the board. The board must then determine whether or not this expenditure would threaten the district itself. The property in the district is protected from ordinances that might limit customary farming and forestry practices. Districts must be taken into account when local planners are proposing ordinances or zoning changes. Districts establish a community where like-minded individuals, if you will, come together to preserve farming, forestry, and open space. So this was included in your package as well, and I'm actually going to skip this one because it's probably pretty hard to read, but this is a list of all the core parcels and non-core parcels. You will see one in black here. The red denotes core parcels, I should say. The blue denotes the less than 1 mile. You will see one in red, in black, excuse me. And the reason that is because some of that parcel, they're different properties that particular corporation owns, and some of them are within the core and some of them weren't. But with that being said, this is a map of the proposed Ag Forest Overlay District. Irish Creek Ag Forest Overlay District. So the core is in red there and consists of 283.189 acres. And then that was the core itself, obviously. And then anyone within a mile, just draw a circle around this edge, that the farthest out as edges, and anyone within a mile can join. And so the non-core areas are shown in blue, and they are consisting of 256 acres. All that's per tax records. So the total district that is proposed this evening is 430.445 acres proposed. With that, I'd like to turn over the floor to one of the landowners in the district, Mr. John King.
Eric White.
Eric White, I apologize, Mr. Eric White. I think Mr. Tyree was going to read a letter during citizen comments, but if you could come up just to have a few. I apologize about calling it Mr. Eric White. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Eric White, South River, speaking here in favor of this agricultural forestry district overlay. Since we were all last here, life has been, wonderful in a lot of ways on Irish Creek. None of us, I don't think, ever really contemplated the possibility that laws would provide for like-minded individuals to get together to do things, to work, towards goals that we all share about our property. One of the questions that we have is, one of the things that we really appreciate is just the opportunity to do something like this. One of the questions that we would have, though we're not expecting an answer tonight, is whether or not that gives us the opportunity at some point in the future to work with the board on whatever projects the board might want to consider to help us enhance and protect and preserve the property up and down Irish Creek. But we feel like this is something that allows us all to head in the right direction. And I would note that even those who, and I would specifically mention Mr. Hamilton, because I know while they were disappointed in the outcome of the special use application, he continues to develop his property in ways which I know serve him personally. I think he's making plans to have his daughter married. He's building a bridge, and he does nice work, and he's doing the things that he needs to do, and he's doing it, like, as far as I can tell, like a good neighbor. So a lot of the applicants are here. We're happy to answer any questions that anyone might have, but we really do appreciate that to have this opportunity.
Thank you.
And if I may add, as far as the process of creating an ag forest district, it is required, it's not the ordinary process that we're accustomed to as far as the planning commission making a recommendation to the board of supervisors. In this case, there's a step right before that. Of course, as you know, we have an agricultural and forester overlay advisory committee. And so on Wednesday, January 9th, 2025, the ag forest advisory committee met, reviewed the application, and recommended approval for 4 years with the following conditions. And I'll stop short of reading those because they're verbatim the same as the planning commission. So I will, for the record, I will read them. That the planning commission, so that recommendation was made by the advisory committee. Then directly after that meeting, the planning commission held its public hearing, and that to back up, the Ag Forest Advisory Committee is not required to hold a public meeting, a public hearing that is a public meeting. The Planning Commission, of course, the Board of Supervisors is required to hold a public hearing on the Planning Commission held its public hearing on January 8th, 2025, and has recommended approval of the proposed Irish Creek District with the following conditions. Number one, landowners applying for the district designation agreed not to subdivide their land to a more intensive non-agricultural or non-forestal use during the term of the district. Applying landowners and the county choose a term between 4 and 10 years. Get to that here in a second. Subdivision is permitted for families in accordance with the current zoning and subdivision ordinance provisions. Only lots that are solely for the purchase by and for members of the immediate family, or lots that are gifts from both and to such members of the immediate family shall be permitted. And to back up the 4 to 10 years, obviously in your draft ordinance that Mr. Dryden has prepared, we struck that sentence and included in the ordinance itself. So that would be the proper, in my opinion, that would be the proper way to do it. Number two condition that the Planning Commission's recommended is no new non-agricultural or forest use buildings and/or buildings, including dwellings, shall be permitted except for the construction of dwelling for members of the owner's immediate family or for persons that earn a substantial part of their livelihood from agricultural or forestal operations on the same property is permitted. So that was the formal recommendation from the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Slayton. All right, I will now open the public hearing.
We have a Tony Tyree.
Good evening. My name's Tony Tyree. I live in South River District on Irish Creek. And there are 10 landowners who have applied for this ag forestry district. And have an email that I've written in my handwriting. I'm gonna try to read to you from my neighbor up the creek, who is currently out of the country. My name is Luke Tyree. Through my family and nonprofit, we own over 200 acres on Irish Creek. Having seen the community come together as they have for the overlay district, I am proud to have everyone on the overlay list as neighbors and like-minded citizens of this remarkable valley. I wholeheartedly support the creation of this overlay, and although I am not able to make this meeting, I wish to express my utmost support for the preservation of the Irish Creek Valley. Thank you. Luke Tyree. I would just like to add that 10 landowners have come together up here to try to preserve Irish Creek. And we got a unanimous vote from the Ag Forest Advisory Committee. We got a unanimous vote from the Planning Commission. We'd like to see a unanimous vote here tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tyree.
Mr. White, you're also, that's all who has signed up, ma'am.
You mentioned Mr. King's letter for the publics. We did receive that letter.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
There's nothing else?
There's no one
Very
online.
online.
either.
Thank you, Spencer. Then I will close the public hearing. Gentlemen?
Chris, I think I know the answer, but there's no requirement that people actually live on the properties.
There is not. No, sir.
The tax bills can go anywhere in the country.
Or elsewhere. Yes,
Or the
sir.
world.
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right. I'm pretty sure that was the case.
Is there, is that not how any different than any other tax bills?
No, but if we're using the properties for ag requirements, as it says, I would just, it would make me feel better if the people were there. I also, the rule is not that, so I can't, I'm going to support it because it's the law and that's what I do. And I generally support landowner rights as well. But, and then the non-core part of it, I don't like either. I would prefer the contiguous parcels, but those are just my preferences, but that's not what the law states. So I don't get to consider those really. But I do want to voice that opinion.
And Ms. Slade, I just had a couple of questions. The 4-year term, I realize you said there would not be any type of fee, but do they have to reapply at the end of 4 years? Come back before the board, or what is that?
Do we have the structure so it expires? I mean, they do have the ability to reapply essentially. And state law is unusual in some parts. State law is unusual when it comes to this because there's some expiration and there's some renewal language in there. But it's my understanding that after 4 years, it does expire. Is that correct? Yes.
So you have to go back through the process.
You would, yes.
All right. If one of the landowners who's in the core or non-core who signed up for this, if they desire to sell their property, does this transfer with the sale?
It does, yes, sir. Yes. Now there are ways to withdraw.
But is it the potential buyer? Can they say, "I don't want this" as well, or is it once we do this, it's there?
Once you do it, it's there for the period of the term.
Okay.
Now, to withdraw, there is state law pertaining to withdrawal. And if it's a death of the landowner, state law actually says as a matter of right, the heirs can withdraw it just by writing a letter to the essentially governing body and Commissioner of Revenue requesting that it be withdrawn. And so that's a matter of right. Now, it's short of a death in the family, state law states that someone can make an application to withdraw. And I have it here from me if you need the exact language. It's something for like sound and reasonable reasons. It's almost it's about as some would consider some interpretation there. Let's put it that way. Yeah. And back up, we have withdrawn when we did have ag forest districts. We have allowed for property owners to withdraw to go into a conservation or an open space easement, and that's one of my opinions, if you will, that the attractiveness of an open space or conservation easement has become so attractive in the area that it in some cases people are doing that versus your ag forest district.
And by doing this for neighbors who may not be in this particular group or in their properties may not be in this core, non-core properties, it doesn't impact their ability to do what they want to on their property, correct?
So the effects of district is covered in 15.2-4312B. Last sentence, it states that local ordinances, comprehensive plans, land use planning decisions, and administrative decisions and procedures affecting parcels of land adjacent to any district shall take into account the existence of such district and the purposes of this chapter. And again, this chapter is the Code of Virginia itself. So as far as the interpretation of that, it goes back to the sound and reasonable reasonings. You do have, it would have to be addressed if someone came through a legislative process and it's adjacent to the ag forest districts. The again, the account of the existence must be taken into effect.
That'd be somewhat similar like what we do with our comprehensive plan, where you need to take that into consideration when you do things. So if there's any plan for adjacent land, you'd need to consider the existence, but that wouldn't necessarily stop you from doing things. You just have to show that you had considered it.
Would be another consideration during the special exception process.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I apologize, very clear. It would not prohibit someone from making an application for a special exception or probably a special exception in this area versus a rezoning, I should say.
We take those considerations all the time, what's in the general area when we make decisions. So it's no different than what we
But
do.
except for it specifically requires you to do so. So, it would give, if someone was not happy with the decision and they didn't believe you considered that, then they could challenge a decision. But that's similar. To me, it's similar to like we do with the comprehensive plan, because we have to take the comprehensive plan into consideration for many of these rezonings or for special exceptions. And so this is just another layer that's more specific to agriculture and forest activities. So.
Was there any part of this process where the neighbors were contacted?
Yes, multiple times through the notice of public hearing, all direct land adjoiners were sent first class mail, I believe. And then the zoning action pending sign had actually been up for quite some time. We went up there and checked to see if they were still there. But again, the planning commission held its public hearing in January. So we actually got a fair amount of a lot of phone calls, if you will, when we first put those signs up, 5 signs up on Irish Creek zoning action pending. You can only imagine some people were wondering what was going on. Let's put it that way. But all direct adjacent property owners with the core and non-core parcels were sent notice of public hearings.
Did we get any other comments?
Not written comments, no ma'am.
And the majority of this land is probably already in land use.
That is on the table itself. And so let me.
You don't have to look it up. I can look at.
I can't recall.
But my question would be, are they aware, would they be required after 4 years if they don't reapply? Do the same rules that they'd have to make up the difference they'd be out of land use?
So land use per the section, you have to qualify. It's my understanding through Ms. Tomlin, who's a member of the Ag Forest District,
right.
Per Code of Virginia, that you have to qualify for one of those agricultural or forestal uses prior to getting accepted in the Ag Forest.
Oh, I thought you said earlier they were.
If they qualify.
If they qualify.
Yes.
Okay. And those that do qualify and get in, they're aware that if they get out, they'll be. I'm not against it. I just want to make sure everyone knows the rules.
Sure, with that, yeah. So land.
There's only one attorney, and you're throwing out all these numbers. I just want to talk so everybody understands that.
Sure. So the land laying within the district used for agricultural forest production automatically qualifies for an agricultural or forestal use land use assessment, whether or not the local ordinance establishing a land use program has been established, as long as the requirements to qualify for land use taxation are met.
Right. And so in 4 years, if they say we're not going to be in it, they know that they'll have to go back and pay the difference.
It's just like any other land use taxation. Yes.
And since they have to qualify prior to going into it, so if they change it, they would, even if we didn't put this in place, since they would assume they'd already qualified, they would have to pay the clawback.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm a little, now I'm confused.
Yes.
They can qualify on their own. They can.
That's
Right.
correct.
So they don't, it would, if they stop at 4 years, that they don't have to claw back anything. They can just continue on their own land use.
If they haven't changed the usage.
Right.
Yes.
Anything else?
Madam Chairman, of course, my district's I move that we approve the ordinance to create the agriculture and forestal overlay district for the Irish Creek area.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Day,
Yes.
Mr. Lyons,
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel,
Yeah.
Mr. Lewis, and I vote yes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Congratulations. All right, are there any other unfinished business? Person on your committee? Comment.
Finance Committee continues to look for a golden egg to tighten the budget. Any suggestions from other board members? Greatly appreciated.
Your motion to adjourn?
So move.
Your second.
Second.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Good evening. Good night.
Just a reminder, we got a meeting next Monday evening.